Tonight on CFTK-TV, Shames Mountain has improving weather conditions. Post-wildfire, Jasper residents are unhappy with Alberta's response and why there's a decline in human and black bear conflict.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
And thank you for joining us here on CFTK-TV. Today is Bell Let's Talk Day, where we're encouraged to check in with our mental health, to check in on others, and to open up about it as well. This year's focus is youth mental health, and the Foundry in Terrace, which provides mental health supports to those in the area, has provided us with some tips. They suggest that engaging in hobbies, connecting with loved ones, and taking breaks, especially from technology, can be helpful. And enjoying nature and the natural world, regular physical activity, even just walking and adequate sleep can all be beneficial. Healthy eating, hydration, and a supportive home environment are all factors as well. And as the Foundry reminds us to learn about the different support services available to youth and families, locally and regionally, Foundry services are available on site in Terrace as well as online anywhere via the Foundry BC app. Continuing this discussion on a national scale, many are sounding the alarm when it comes to the mental health of young people in this country, with recent stats showing more than 1 million in need of mental health supports, and more than half of those youth are not getting the help they need. The situation has been worsening for a decade, and on this Bell Let's Talk Day, young people are encouraging others to speak up about their own mental health challenges. Here's CTV's John Venevali-Rao.
I felt really tired. I felt really unmotivated.
These days, Abby Walker knows all about mental health. But back in grade 10, hidden behind that smile, she felt exhausted all the time.
We didn't talk about mental health. I didn't know that I was struggling with depression. I just thought I was sad, I was unmotivated, and I didn't know why.
At one point, I started hurting myself.
At just 10 years old, Lou Outhoff also felt depressed, anxious, and had thoughts no kid should have.
I was suicidal. I wanted to die, but I'm still here.
Both sharing stories of resilience, hoping to encourage other young people to open up about their own mental health challenges.
1 in 2 youth are struggling with their mental health alone.
A problem that's been growing.
Sadly, we've gone from a situation of bad to worse. The kids are not all right.
Kids around the globe are reporting more anxiety and depression. Some point to lingering effects of the pandemic, others social media and worries about climate change. Thoughts of self-harm are alarmingly common, with suicide the second leading cause of death in this country among youth and young adults. Treatment is in such demand, it can be hard to access.
In provinces like Ontario in particular, kids are waiting on wait lists of 2 years.
And girls are faring worse. A 2023 survey found 19% of boys rated their mental health as fair or poor. For girls, it was 33%. Abby says in university she also developed an eating disorder, but got help and now speaks to others about it.
I started to go to therapy, and that is something that I would advocate for absolutely anybody struggling with disordered eating or an eating disorder.
And Lou is also a big believer in therapy.
It helped so much. I learned so many different coping mechanisms. It was amazing.
Hoping others will start that conversation that could save a life. John Venevali-Rao, CTV News, Toronto.
Moving on to a story from Jaylene Matthews of CFTK-TV, who has a story about Shames Mountain and its substantially better weather conditions for those who use the hill.
Skiers and boarders got to enjoy bluebird skies and fun vibes at Shames Mountain this past weekend as conditions have improved and many races were underway. The latest snow report states 140 centimeters of snow at the bottom of the T-bar, adding on 25 centimeters in the past week, with upper mountain conditions listed as excellent. Swiss outdoor brand Mammoth paid a visit to Shames last year and have now released a new film on the co-op.
Originally, the building we are in was at a ski hill called Kitsim-Kalem.
Heart of the Mountain, how a small community saved their mountain and changed skiing forever, already has over 13,000 views since its release on Friday.
The Shames Mountain Corporation bought the old lifts from the Kitsim-Kalem ski hill.
They literally trailered the lodge here, brought all the lifts here.
Raising the more than $2 million to build the facility has been a major task.
The 9-minute short film tells the story of Shames Mountain from its inception and can be found on the Mammoth YouTube page. For CFTK-TV News in Terrace, I'm Jaylene Matthews.
And this coming Friday, the Skeena Mall in Terrace will be taking an hour and a half out of their day in order to celebrate a particular holiday. The holiday is known as Family Literacy Day, and the mall's celebration will last between 1 p.m. up until 2:30 p.m. on January 24th at the former site of the Just Cozy store that is located across from the Winners. And the reason for the holiday's existence is so that families can engage in literacy activities together, so that the importance of reading can be emphasized to everyone. The event will also be home to games, arts and crafts as well. Some of the event's sponsors will include the Terrace Public Library, the Heritage Park Museum, Northern Health, Misty River Books, and Coast Mountain College. Coming up next, 6 months after harsh wildfires, Jasper residents are upset with Alberta's response. Welcome back to CFTK-TV. It's been about 6 months since the town of Jasper, Alberta was covered in flames, leaving most of the town abandoned and burned down. Especially for a town that relies a lot on local tourism for their local economy, many residents are disappointed in the government of Alberta in their recovery response. Here's Jeremy Thompson from CTV News.
The town of Jasper and the parks surrounding it have been a source of pride.
It was an emotional press conference for the Premier the day after the wildfire. An appearance born and raised Jasperite Sabrina Charlebois remembers well.
And watching Danielle Smith cry on the news and say, "Jasper, we will continue to stand by you."
She lost her home. Her workplace burned down too. 6 months later, Charlebois feels let down. She and roughly 600 others are still living in hotel rooms, waiting on temporary homes to move into while Jasper is rebuilt. The provincial government pledged $112 million for 250 units, but those homes are now in jeopardy.
There has not been enough land provided for anything beyond 8 houses.
Minister Jason Nixon says he's reached an impasse with Jasper, Parks Canada, and the federal government. He says only single detached homes meet the standard of housing the province is prepared to build, and putting up an apartment building would take years. Nixon adds Ottawa hasn't been much help since before Parliament was prorogued.
This is not about me being set on anything. This is the reality is you can't build structures in the air. You need to have land.
Jasper has prepared 4 CFL football fields worth of land for interim housing. Town staff want to put in as many units as possible. Even before the uncertainty from the province, Jasper secured other temporary homes for the land, including at least 50 oilfield-style duplexes.
A bathroom, a bedroom, a kitchen, and some living space. So they are suitable and they are reasonable, but they are certainly not overly comfortable.
Jasperites in limbo like Charlebois are left feeling frustrated and angry.
This delays healing. It delays recovery. People being in the anger phase for so long and just like wondering why our government isn't helping us.
She's organizing a rally to raise awareness in Jasper on Friday. Jeremy Thompson, CTV News, Edmonton.
And now we turn our attention to tonight's local weather forecast and for the upcoming week. Tonight in Prince Rupert should have rain ending sometime near midnight, followed by cloudy conditions with a 40% chance of showers with about 10 millimeters in total. Wind should be light except coming from the west at 30 kilometers per hour over the coastal sections before morning time. The temperature should be steady near 4 degrees. The Terrace and Kitimat region should have about 2 to 4 centimeters of snow. Tonight, with winds coming from the south at 20 kilometers per hour, the temperature should be steady near 0 degrees. The Bulky Valley and Lakes District should have mainly cloudy conditions, which should clear up before morning with winds at 15 kilometers per hour. The temperature should be at minus 12 with the wind chill of minus 14. On to your weekly weather forecast. The North Coast should see sun for the next while up until Monday, when a chance of flurries may happen. The high will be 7 degrees tomorrow and Friday, while the low will be -1 on Sunday night. The Terrace and Kitimat region should have similar patterns, just some higher chances of snow occurring, especially over the next 24 hours in particular. The temperatures should be hovering around 0 degrees this week, with the low being 2 degrees on Friday and Saturday, and the low will be -3 on Sunday night. The Bulkley Valley should have pretty clear conditions this week with a little bit less clouds than the other two areas previously mentioned. The high will be 0 degrees on Monday, while the low will be -8 on Saturday night. And now we take a look at your Northwest roadside report. For more updates, make sure to check out drybc.ca. Highway 16 has slushy sections between Prince Rupert and Skeena, fog patches between Skeena and Doreen, and slippery sections. Highway 37 has slippery sections between Mesiadin Junction to Kitimat and compact snow from Gittin-Yow to the Yukon border. Highway 37A has slippery sections. Highway 118 has no report at the moment. The Nishka Highway has fog patches, and Telegraph Creek Road has compact snow throughout. These were what the roads looked around the Northwest. Still to come, inflation has settled for food prices, but research does not expect that to continue. Hello again. We have one more update on Highway 16 as a vehicle incident has occurred between Level Crossing and X2 Gate, which is about 36 kilometers to 38 kilometers west of Terrace. As of right now, we are awaiting confirmation from the RCMP for more details. Now, moving on to a report from yesterday, it was revealed that the number of black bear conflicts with humans in British Columbia has dropped a big amount at almost 50% since last year's results. Brendan Strain from CTV News has more on the story.
When a bear moves into an urban area looking for a food source, BC conservation officers are often called, and often it doesn't go well for the bears. Last year, though, something historic happened.
Our calls for service were down this last year for 2024.
The agency says there were 10,000 fewer reports of bear conflicts reported to its RAP line. And when it comes to the number of black bears that had to be destroyed in this province at 303, that was the lowest on record.
The numbers are encouraging.
Encouraging because 2023 was the worst year on record with 603 kills. COs say there are a number of reasons for the nearly 50% drop.
It comes down to food availability, essentially.
Last summer's weather produced a great wildberry season. As well, salmon returns were good. There are also other factors at play as well.
Education is a big piece to this puzzle.
Fortunately, it's not a bear problem, it's a people problem.
COs are crediting organizations like Wildwise for the education and advocacy work being done in communities to be more bear aware.
There's really no excuse for the amount of garbage bins that are being left outside on a constant basis.
We know we're helping people who are food insecure access fresh fruit. Now we know we're saving bears. It's super exciting.
As well as groups like the Cowichan Green Community that gathers fruit from backyard trees to be donated throughout the community. That work is also eliminating a potential attractant for bears.
Conservation officer will call us, neighbors will call us, people will call us.
We rely heavily on our municipalities and their bylaw enforcement,
which in many cases have been creating stronger rules when it comes to how residents are allowed to store their garbage and focusing on more education within the community.
We have to be diligent. Complacency kills. And so it's important for us to continue and build upon this momentum that we have.
A new year and a new chance to prove Vancouver Islanders care for bears. Brendan Strain, CTV News, Victoria.
In more provincial news, a BC First Nations leader changed his mind about the Northern Gateway Pipeline project shutdown after more comments from President Trump. Union of BC Indian Chiefs Grand Chief Stuart Phillip opposed the project back in 2016, but that was at a, quote, different time, and Canada has no choice but to consider expanding oil shipments to other markets. Phillip said First Nations can gain from giving input into how projects could look, which is better than the Trump administration undertaking similar projects with lower environmental standards. His comments come after Alberta Premier Daniel Smith responded to Trump's tariff threats by saying Canada needs to bring back pipeline projects to, quote, stop being so reliant on one trading partner. Now we take a look at Canada's inflation rate, which ticked lower than last month, thanks in part to the temporary GST tax break, but you might not notice at the grocery store anytime soon. Loblaws says it expects grocery prices to go up this year as well. As CTV's Garrett Barry tells us, the threat of tariffs could make matters worse.
Canada's inflation rate has been pushed back below 2%, the long-time target for the Bank of Canada. Still, there's plenty of economists today watching south of the border.
Of course, the bigger part of the story right now is the potential tariffs from the U.S. that President Trump is threatening.
Some experts say Canadian companies must compete in American stores, and that means cutting prices, paying workers and suppliers less to keep from passing the cost of tariffs onto consumers. But American producers don't necessarily have to. They have a rich domestic market and other international buyers.
The American producer is going to say, you can tariff us all you want. We're getting $100 out of this no matter what. If you want to put a 25, 30, 50% tariff on American products, then add it on to your own price that you consumers pay.
And where Canadians might notice price hikes the most, at the grocery store, there's little relief in sight. Grocery giant Loblaws is predicting prices will keep climbing through 2025, blaming a weaker Canadian dollar and increases in the costs of growing and transporting food.
I'm paying $300 every 2 weeks now. I mean, this time next year, it could be $350. But there's nothing you can do to stop it. I haven't had to cut out anything, but I've made a lot of changes. So I never ever used to meal plan.
Donald Trump has pointed towards February 1st to bring in his tariffs against Mexican and Canadian goods. Economists say there's still a lot unknown about how much pain that day could bring.
And now we turn our attention to the stock market, where we have an increase in all 4 indexes. The Canadian dollar is down a slight bit. The price of gold is up $11.70. Oil is down 39 cents. Natural gas is up 20 cents. And aluminum is down $38. In Toronto, the TSX is up about 30 points. The Venture Index is up 3.88. In New York, the Dow Jones is up about 131. And NASDAQ is up 252. Still ahead, more resources are being put into human trafficking around British Columbia. Welcome back to our final segment here on CFTK-TV. In just one day, President Donald Trump's cabinet made some major changes, including a number of executive orders, as many as 200 in what Trump called shock and awe, including some controversial pardons facing backlash today. Joy Malvin from CTV News over in Washington has more.
Stuart Rhodes, founder of the Oath Keepers, a far-right militia accused of stockpiling firearms in a plot to attack the Capitol, now a free man.
I think it's a good day for America that all the wrongs are being undone.
Trump's your president! And Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio, convicted of conspiracy in the plot, had his 22-year sentence wiped with the stroke of a pen.
Approximately $1,500 for a pardon. Full pardon.
Today, President Donald Trump defended his actions.
Joe Biden gave a pardon yesterday to a lot of criminals, and you should be asking that question.
January 6th, a dark day, the Capitol attacked by Trump supporters, believing the lie that the 2020 election was stolen from Trump. Back then, the president condemned the violence.
And to those who broke the law, you will pay.
Damages in the millions, 140 officers attacked and injured, including Michael Fanone. Shot with a stun gun, he suffered a heart attack and says Trump is trying to rewrite the truth.
I have been betrayed by my country, and I've been betrayed by those that supported Donald Trump.
Outside prisons, watch parties, waiting for releases, celebrating the rioters as heroes. Remember the QAnon shaman who served jail time? Today posting, "Thank you, President Trump. Now I'm going to buy some mother effing guns." But not everyone's cheering Pam Hemphill, known as the MAGA granny, refusing the pardon.
I broke the law. I pleaded guilty because I was guilty. That Trump could let these criminals out And they had criminal records before January 6th. They're very dangerous people.
On Capitol Hill, backlash to Trump's pardons, even from some Republicans.
It was surprising to me that it was a blanket pardon. Now I'm going through the details.
I do not support the pardons if they were given to people who committed violent crimes.
And human trafficking has been a growing concern for BC citizens and the BC government, as more resources are now being put into a fight up against those who are guilty. Here's CTV's Michelle Bernoro with our final story of the day.
The province tells CTV News in this email that the BC RCMP has approved the creation of a 12-member counter-human trafficking unit. The RCMP's E-Division has been unwilling to talk to us about it, but word of a new unit comes amid criticism that police and politicians have a poor track record when it comes to tackling a growing problem.
We all really need to demand more of law enforcement, and we need to demand more of our provincial government in terms of addressing this issue.
The issue she's talking about is human trafficking, and this lawyer says to date neither government nor police have been doing enough to stop it.
It's our experience and observation that the police are not taking those reports seriously. It's our experience and observation that the police don't have the resources, the will, or the capacity to investigate these cases.
Brown wants BC to follow the lead of Ontario, where an intelligence-led joint forces strategy was created to fight the trade in humans.
It's allowed 20 policing organizations to collaborate on human trafficking investigations. That increases information sharing, collaboration between jurisdictions, and collaboration on different types of multi-jurisdictional human trafficking investigations.
Ontario has by far the most trafficking cases reported to police within Canada, but that province is fighting back and is seeing results.
In 2024, we've laid 264 criminal code charges, 214 specifically being related to human trafficking charges, and then another 50 ancillary charges.
And unlike BC, when cases go to court in Ontario, dedicated human trafficking prosecutors handle each one.
We get the same sort of arguments by defense counsel over and over again. And if you didn't specialize in this area, you may not be familiar with those types of legal issues and arguments that come up. You might be caught off guard.
Ontario also has provincial restraining orders specific to human trafficking that don't require a report to go to police first.
It's not a criminal code restraining order. It's an order of the court that prevents a trafficker from communicating with a person who's either being trafficked or at risk of being trafficked. These applications can be made by the person who's being trafficked themselves, or if it's in relation to a child that's under the 18 who's being trafficked or at risk of being trafficked, it could be made by a parent.
BC's public safety minister did not make himself available for an interview with CTV News, but said in a statement, the rise in human trafficking is a significant issue that happens in our province and at our borders. We are actively coordinating with all levels of government and our southern neighbors to combat this illegal activity. Both Vancouver Police and BC RCMP's special units that deal with human trafficking also would not speak to us about a problem that advocates are fighting to shine a light on, a problem that's hidden in plain sight. Michelle Bernoro, CTV News, Vancouver.
That'll be all for our cast tonight. We'll be back tomorrow at 5, 6, and 11 o'clock here on CFTK-TV. Thank you very much for tuning in, and have a good night.